Hello everyone. Let's learn about sentence errors. I hope that you're doing well. My name is Hamid. I'm happy to be here and I hope that you are sitting in a very comfortable position and you have your pen and your paper as well. So let's talk about some errors that we find in a sentence, right? So this PPT is taken from University of West Florida. I found it to be a very good source of information. So let's learn and see what it has. Now, first of all, what is a sentence? A true sentence must have the following. Yeah, three things. A subject, a verb, and it should be having a complete thought. If a group of words is missing any of these components, it is not a real sentence. We cannot call it a sentence, right? So keep this in mind. What is a sentence? A sentence must have a subject, it must have a verb, it must be telling us something about the subject, and it should deliver a complete thought. We don't need any other information to understand that sentence. So if a group of words is missing any of these components, then I'm sorry, we cannot call it a real sentence. Now let's look at this sentence. I ran, right? A sentence can be short or long. It just depends on what idea the sentence is and it is intended to convey. For example, I ran. It is a complete sentence. Does it have a subject? Yes, I is the subject. Does it have a verb? Of course, ran, which is the past form of run, a verb, right? Now let's look at another sentence. This is a very short sentence, right? Now let's look at a very big sentence. I ran down the long, dark hallway, dodging stacks of building materials as I went, and burst through the fire exit, disoriented and exhausted, blinded by the sudden shot of sunlight, but emboldened by what I had just witnessed. Now, this is a complete sentence. Is it giving a complete thought? Yes. Does the first sentence is giving complete thought? Of course, yes. In the first sentence, I is the subject and ran is the verb. If all the writer wants the reader to know is that the subject ran, these two words are enough. These are sufficient to make up a complete thought. Now, in the second sentence, this has some imagery. It has added some specific details. I is still the subject and ran is still the verb. I ran down the long, dark hallway, dodging stacks of building materials as I went, and burst through the fire exit, disoriented and exhausted, blinded by the sudden shot of sunlight, but emboldened by what I had just witnessed. The point of this sentence is to convey a very specific imagery. A very specific image should come in your mind. Therefore, this sentence is to convey a very specific image. Therefore, the sentence requires more than just the subject and the verb. Now, if you remove everything, you know, down to witnessed, if you remove it, I ran, does it make a complete sense? Yes, of course it is. It does make complete sense. Everything that follows the word ran, from down to witnessed, contribute to the completion of the idea the sentence is intended to convey. If you remove these details, then we would not know, the imagery will be lost. We would not have specific information about it. Alright, so you must have heard the word sentence fragment, right? What is a fragment? A fragment is not a true sentence. Though it is capitalized, it is punctuated, and it looks like a sentence, but truly it is not because it is missing some link and it is missing important information. If there are, for example, let's take look at this sentence, right? Let me just use my pen. Yeah. So let's look at here. If there are no more malpractice suits, the hospital will win its license renewal. However, no one can be sure of the hospital's future because patients are very quick to go to court. Now the first sentence is fine. This one is fine. If there are no more malpractice suits, the hospital will win its license renewal. This sentence is fine. It is complete. But this sentence, however, no one can be sure of the hospital's future. Now we have a transition word at the start, which makes it suspicious. We need some more information. So this sentence looks like a sentence, yes, but it is a fragment. However, the H is capitalized, there are punctuations, there is a full stop at the end. It looks like a sentence, but it is a sentence fragment. It's not a complete sentence, right? The word because creates an exception expectation for some sort of effect, but the sentence stops short of fulfilling that expectation. Therefore, the second sentence does not convey a complete thought. Because patients are very quick to go to court. You know? Now, this part, is it a complete sentence? No, this is also not a complete sentence. Now, I hope that you understand this, right? The first one, the first sentence is a sentence, even though it is starting with if, conditional sentence, right? It is a conditional sentence starting with if, it is a conditional, but still it makes complete sense. But the next sentence is not making a complete sense, it's a sentence fragment. Next one, because patients are very quick to go to court. Now, this is also not a complete sentence, rather, it is also a sentence fragment. Because the second sentence does not convey a complete thought. The third one is not also conveying a complete thought. Now, now let's look at this. Wait, is that a fragment? We have to figure it out. Local agencies will become overcrowded and ineffective unless the number of mental health services is increased. Now let's look at this description. A group of words can contain a noun that looks like a subject and a verb and still be a fragment. Now, if a group of words, anything that is written in words, it has a subject, it has a verb, it will still be a fragment. Earlier we said that a sentence is having a subject and a verb. Now we are saying that no, it's not a sentence, it's a fragment. Why? Because there will be a missing link. There will be an extra word that will make it a fragment instead of a complete sentence. Let's look at here. Number is a noun unless the number of mental health services is increased. Now, this is acting as a subject, is acting as a verb, but the word unless, this is making our sentence a fragment. This is creating an expectation. Unless what? You know, what do you mean by unless? Why are you saying unless? There is some missing link. We are missing something out. We need to find that reason why unless is written over here. The number of mental health services will be increased unless or what? What would happen? This sentence does not contain a complete thought. Local agencies will become overcrowded and ineffective. It's a complete sentence. But this sentence, from unless to increased, this is a sentence fragment. It's starting with the word unless, making it suspicious and making us it's giving an expectation of some information. Does it have a subject? Number is subject. Does it have a verb? Yes, is a verb. So, but still it is a fragment. Yeah, this is still a fragment. It's easy to understand. I don't see any problem with that. Okay, So if we have a fragment in a sentence, if I've written something and it has a fragment, how do I reverse it? What would I do to reverse this? Or how do I make it better? One way to revise or to correct a fragment is to connect the fragment to the preceding sentence. Just simply connect the fragment, take the fragment connected with the previous sentence, and it will no longer be a fragment sentence, it will be a complete sentence, right? Simple. In August of, yeah, let's see, which is most likely the sentence from which the fragment is disconnected. A fragment sentence is most probably it's disconnected, it is left alone, it is cut out from the previous sentence. How do we reverse it? How do we revise it? We just take that part and combine it with the previous or the preceding sentence, and voila, it will be fixed. Easy, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Okay, let's look at this sentence. In August of 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit Florida and Louisiana with winds that clocked 175 miles per hour, the country's worst natural disaster of the century. The country's worst natural disaster of the century. Do we see a sentence fragment? What about the first sentence? It's complete. In August of 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit. Hit is the verb, Hurricane Andrew is the subject, Florida and the rest of the words are actually the predicate telling us something about the subject. Now, the country's worst natural disaster of the century. Now, this sentence is actually a fragment. It has to be connected with the previous sentence. The second part is a fragment because it has no verb. Where is the verb? The country's worst natural disaster of the century. Can you spot a verb? You can't because there isn't one. By connecting the second part to the first part, we let the first part provide the subject, Hurricane Andrew, and the verb hit. So we already have a verb hit. So why not we take this part and connect it with the previous sentence, because we already have a subject and a verb in the previous sentence, and this will suffice the fragment and it will be fixed. Now let's fix it. Yeah, let's look at this. In August of 1992, here Hurricane Andrew, which is a subject, hit verb Florida and Louisiana with winds that clocked 175 miles per hour, the country's worst natural disaster of the century. One sentence, right? Complete. Subject, verb, other information. There is no fragment. We combined it by using comma here with punctuation, and we just combined it, and that's complete. And we don't need any subject or verb for this part because we are already connected with the previous part. So that subject and verb will suffice. That's enough. We don't need anything else. Is there any other way to revise a fragment? Is there another way that we don't know of that we should be knowing? Yeah. Another way to revise a fragment is to turn the fragment into a standalone sentence, a sentence that is independent, that is standing on its own feet. Now let's look at this example. Prospectors invaded the newly discovered gold field, some in wagons, some on horseback, and a few in heavily laden canoes. Prospectors invaded the newly discovered gold field, some in wagons, some on horseback, and a few in heavily laden canoes. The second part is a fragment. Now, some in wagons and all these things, all these words, this is a fragment. The first one is a complete sentence. Why? Because the second part is a sentence because it has no verb. Can you see a verb? No, we cannot see a verb, right? There is no verb here. We just have to provide we can still have two separate sentences here. We just have to provide a verb to make the second part a sentence. What do we need to make the fragment into a sentence? We need a verb. Let's fix it, right? Let's look at here. Prospectors invaded. Let me, yeah. Prospectors invaded the newly discovered gold field. Some came. Yeah, this is our verb that we have just added. This is our verb. Came. This is a verb that we needed to turn this fragment into a complete sentence. Some came in wagons, some on horseback, and a few arrived in heavily laden canoes. And that's how we revised a fragment. Are all fragments wrong? Is it really wrong to have a fragment? Writers sometimes use fragments deliberately. They use them intentionally for emphasis or to convey a sense of excitement. Why do they do this? For emphasis, yeah, and to convey a sense of excitement. These are the two reasons why writers sometimes, just sometimes, use fragments. And they do it by mistake? No, they do it deliberately. They want it to be done. The intentional fragments below are from advertising print about the 2010 movie The Social Network. Now, let's look at this sentence. Splendid entertainment from a master storyteller. A soon to be classic. Here is a sentence. One of the most memorizing stories of the decade achieves Shakespearean dimensions. All these sentences, fragment, 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 right? All these are fragments. The writer wants to grab your attention in a very quick way, writing as less words as he or she could, so that you can just read it fast and you can get the message. A soon to be classic. Does it have a subject or a verb? No. Splendid entertainment from a master storyteller. Where is the verb? I can't find any verb. One of the most mesmerizing stories of the decade. Where is the verb? Achieves Shakespearean dimensions. Yes, yeah, this is a verb. But where is the subject? What is achieving the Shakespearean dimensions? What are we talking about? Right? So these are also fragments. You can find them behind the cover of a book, on the blurb. You can find it on billboards. You can find it on the posters and in ads on YouTube or on social media. You can see when they are promoting a movie or a short season or anything or TV show. You can clearly see that. And you can also find these fragments on a magazine. You can find them on, newspapers. You can find them on the advertisement part of the newspaper. You can find them on so many things, or even the ads on YouTube. You can find such sentences. They are deliberately, intentionally written to grab your attention. What is a run on sentence? Yeah, what is a run on sentence? A run on sentence is a sentence construction error that occurs when two independent clauses are not separated by a coordinating conjunction or any punctuation. When two independent clauses, we know what is an independent clause. We don't need to discuss it here. It's very common. It's very basic. If you do not know about a clause and all the types of clauses like dependent or independent, just pause the video right now, go check that out, and then come to the lesson, right? So when we have two complete sentences, or you can say independent clauses, but they are not separated by a coordinating conjunction. What is a coordinating conjunction? You know, for and nor, but or yet so. These are the coordinating conjunctions. When these are not used, or instead of these, maybe any punctuation, right? then we can say that this is a run on sentence. We need to fix it. Walk with your feet, dance with your heart. Walk with your feet, dance with your heart. But there is nothing in between. We need that. We need that coordinating conjunction. We need that punctuation. This is a run on sentence. Run on sentence, right? ROS. You can call it ROS. Walk with your feet. Is it a complete sentence? Yeah, it is. Walk with your feet. The subject is understood. We have a verb, we have a preposition, we have a pronoun, we have a noun, right? Walk with your feet is a complete sentence. Dance with your heart. It is a complete sentence. But we need some punctuation between the two sentences. Without punctuation, we have a run on. You can put comma here, right? Walk with your feet, comma, dance with your heart. Walk with your feet, or you can put a coordinating conjunction, let's say and. Walk with your feet and dance with your heart. That now we have fixed the run on sentence. We have fixed the run on sentence. It is complete. Do run on sentences run on and on? Do they always run? Can you catch them? What do you think? Do run on sentences run on and on and on and on and on? A long sentence is not necessarily a run on sentence. The following is just a long sentence. Now, when there is a long sentence like this, can you say, no, this is a run on sentence? It's going on and on and on and on. No, it is just a long sentence. It is not a run on sentence, right? Black bearded, pale faced, with thin compressed lips, aquiline nose, and dark, piercing eyes, he slouched in his weather stained uniform. Yet he was greatly beloved by the few who knew him best, and he was gifted with that strange power of commanding measureless devotion from the thousands whom he ruled with an iron hand. Is it a run on sentence? No, it's not. It is not. Because, see, we have punctuations over here, comma after comma after comma. These commas are protecting us from run on sentences, right? And we also have a conjunction, yet. Yeah, we also have a coordinating conjunction, and yet. So it's not a run on sentence. It's actually a long sentence with imagery, with specific information, with detailing. Now, are run on sentences long? A run on sentence can be very short as well. I'll cut, you choose. What does that mean? I'll cut, you choose. That doesn't make any sense. I'll cut is a complete sentence. You choose is also a complete sentence. We need something in between. Maybe a comma, maybe a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunction. CC, right? I'll cut, you choose. You may be thinking, well, run-on sentences must be very long. No, they can be short. I'll cut, you choose. I'll cut, you choose what? I'll cut, you choose. What do you mean by that? It has to be something else, right? I'll cut. Is it a complete sentence? Yes, I will cut. Yeah, right? You choose. It's a complete sentence. We have in I'll cut we have a subject. I cut is a verb. In you choose, we have a subject and choose is a verb. So these are two complete sentences, but we need something in between to separate them. Otherwise, they are called run on ROS, run on sentences. But when we add a comma or any coordinating conjunction, it will be fixed. How do I revise a run on sentence? One way to revise a run on sentence is to add a period and a capital letter. Thoreau went into the woods to simplify his life. He also wanted to live close to nature. Now, this is a run on sentence. Thoreau went into the woods to simplify his life. He also wanted to live close to nature. Thoreau went into the woods to simplify his life is a complete sentence. He also wanted to live close to nature is also a complete sentence. Without punctuation, excuse me. Without punctuation, we have a run-on sentence. Correct the run-on by making this group of words two sentences. Now let's make it two sentences. Sentences. Thoreau went into the woods to simplify his life. Full stop or period. Period or full stop. That means the same thing. He also wanted to live close to nature. This is another sentence. The next, the first letter of the next sentence, the first alphabet is capitalized. No, capitalized. So we have two sentences now. We had a run on sentence. We fixed it. Yeah, should party. Yeah, it's time for celebration. Is there another way to revise a run on sentence? Do we have anything else under our disposal? Do we have any other trick? Yeah. A second way to revise a run on sentence is to add a semicolon. You know, what is a semicolon or semicolon? This thing. We have a full stop and then right below the full stop we have a comma. That is a semicolon. Some working people get a raise every year. However, inflation often leaves them with no increase in buying power. Some working people get a raise every year. However, inflation often leaves them with no increase in buying power. Some people working some working people get a raise every year. This is till this some working people get a raise every year. This is a complete sentence. However, inflation often leaves them with no increase in buying power is also a complete sentence. Without punctuation, we have a run on sentence. Correct the run on by placing a semicolon between the two sentences, right? We don't need to. The first method was to combine this with this part, in sentence fragment, we used to combine it with the previous sentence. But now we can use either a full stop or a period, just like here. See, we used a period. Now we can use another punctuation, which is a semicolon. Some working people get a raise every year. Now let's see, right? Here we have a semicolon. However, and semicolon will always be placed before however or any other kind of transitional word or correlate or subordinating conjunction, right? Inflation often leaves them with no increase in buying power. We fixed it. We fixed the run on sentence. We have fixed it by adding a semicolon. And we added when the first sentence, the complete sentence was finished, we added it right there before the next sentence. And that's how we fix it with a semicolon. Now let's look what's next for us. Now, what is a comma splice? This looks like a wrong word, like splice. Have you ever heard this word before? Have you ever heard this word before? If yes, then that's great. If not, then it's okay. We will learn it right now. A comma splice occurs when two complete sentences are separated only by a comma. The comma is keeping those two sentences together. Wearing a seat belt is not just a good idea, it is the law. Complete wearing a seatbelt is not just a good idea, a complete sentence. It is the law, complete sentence. What thing is holding it? These two things, a comma supplies. This is a comma supplies. Wearing a seat belt is not just a good idea, is a complete sentence. It is the law is also a complete sentence. If we want to keep them both in one sentence, we need more than just a comma to hold them together, right? One way to revise a comma splice is to add a period and a capital letter. Ethan didn't show up for class until it was half over. Then he asked the professor if he could leave early. Ethan didn't show up for class until it was half over. This is a complete sentence. Yeah, this is a complete sentence. Then he asked the professor if he could leave early is also a complete sentence. We can fix the comma supplies by turning the sentence into two sentences, right? So we don't want a comma supplies. We do not want this. We don't want a single comma to hold two independent complete sentences together just by a comma. That's not enough. That is not enough. We need to fix this comma supplies. This is the problem right here. We have a problem, right? So if we want to keep these two things in one sentence, we need more than just a comma to hold them together. Now let's look at here. Ethan didn't show up for class until it was half over. Then he asked the professor if he could leave early. We can fix the comma splice by turning the sentences into two sentences. That's how I fix it. Another way to revise a comma splice is to replace the comma with a semicolon. Yeah, semicolon is better than a comma here. No one knows where Alex went. She just resigned from her job and took to the open road on her scooter. No one knows where Alex is. This is a complete sentence. She just resigned from her job and took to the open road on her scooter is also a complete sentence. Now, this is a comma splice. We can use a semicolon, and that is fixed. No one knows where Alex went, semicolon. She just resigned from her job and took to the open road on her scooter. This is one sentence. It is, being holden, it is being held by a semicolon. And that's how this was our comma splice. We don't want that. We fixed it with this thing, semicolon. Right? Let's go back. Just go back a little. What is a comma splice? A comma splice occurs when two complete sentences are separated only by a comma. When you see this, it means you need to fix it. There is a problem. This is a problem. Wearing a seatbelt is not just a good idea. This is a complete sentence. It is the law. This is also a complete sentence. If we want to keep them both in one sentence, we need more than just a comma to hold them together. We can use a first, if you want to fix a comma supplies, make two sentences, right? Just like here, two sentences. If you want to fix it by another way, replace comma with a semicolon. This is the second way. And that's it. That's the whole PPT that we have just studied. I hope that you go through it again, and I will share some exercises with you. I'll share some problems, some run-on sentences, comma supplies. I will share with you um, fragments that you need to fix with all these different ways that we have seen run-on sentence and some different ways to correct them. We have seen fragments and how do we correct them in different ways, and we have also seen comma splices, and there are like two ways or three ways to fix them as well, right? Two ways probably. That's the whole point of this PPT. I hope that you had a great time listening to it. I hope that I have not bored you. I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed the whole lesson. I hope you have enjoyed it too. So now let's take a break, drink your coffee, tea, or water. Just look at your notes. If you have any doubt, you can ask me right now in the comments or just text me on WhatsApp, and you can ask for more advices. You can ask for corrections. You can ask for more exercises, worksheets, skill sheets, and all those things to practice this lesson, right? Why do we learn this lesson? We need to understand first and then we have to practice it. So for practicing, I can give you as much material as you want. And now it's up to you to learn this and never ever make a mistake like that ever in your life. Otherwise, this lesson will be of no value. It, we have to put it to trash. We need to throw it in the garbage. If you don't focus, if you don't practically apply these things in your uh, writing and speaking, then there is no point of learning it. That's it. Take care of yourself. God bless you.